5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of The Clingers Have Spoken. I'm Joel Klinger. Across from me, as always, through Zoom, is my brother Michael. We are here to talk about episode 10. We're in the double digits now. Episode 10 of season 46 of Survivor. We just watched A Blind Side when there was a smoke screen, and the smoke screen was used again. And we saw another idol go home. Michael, how are you feeling?
I feel good, man. Q is still in the game, baby. Q is
Crazy.
Staying alive. You can't kill this guy. No one wants to. He's too good of a character.
Like, literally, Q's going to the end, right? Like, I feel pretty decently confident about that. Like, this could be the layout for the next 3 episodes until they wise up and think, okay, like, I can't, I need to be the one that's making moves instead of whoever is saying they're going to vote Q, Mm-hmm. Like, this could go on forever. Like, he's like, I feel pretty confident he's going to be in Final Tribal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, does every player want to go to the end with Q and Venus right now? Shouldn't that be everyone's game plan?
I would not want to go with Venus, to be completely honest. Venus has been on the right side of every vote. Like,
was she tonight?
Except for this one.
Except
for this one. Yeah, except for this one. But like, she is in the mayhem. She's in the mayhem. She's not really like a target. I'm pro Venus, but we have to take like a good bit of time and talk about 2 people for probably most of this episode. Do you want to talk about what happened at the reward challenge, or do you want to talk about another idol going home first?
I want to talk about what happened at the reward challenge.
Yes. Liz, my girl, cannot eat anything but can eat Applebee's and loves it. That was something. I was not that wasn't on my bingo card for Liz to be able to eat a burger at Applebee's.
Yeah. Rob Sesternino posted on X tonight, said, Liz may not have gotten to eat Applebee's, but she ate.
She did. She ate that TV time up right up,
My goodness. It was riveting. I mean, it was riveting television watching her scream through tears at Q as if it's Q's job to feed her.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a moment because I think she lost in that moment. This is a game. She's a starving human being on an island where she's watching other people eat, barely eat, and she's not eating anything. I get that 100%. But she's like, Q, you ruined my game. Q never once said he was going to align with her. He never blindsided her. Like, Q is out here just playing his own game and, admittedly in his own way that's chaotic.
Yeah. She's still hung up on, like, my big move to get Tevin out got overshadowed by your nonsense, and that's when you ruined my game. And now you're not letting me eat.
Yes. And, like, that was a lot to put on Q, and Q didn't do any of that out of malice. He did it for his own game or, like, stupidity. It's not on Q. And I'm kind of with Q. I'm like, if I have any chance of this game, I need to, like, align with the people that I think I can still align with, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I'm kind of with Q in that. I probably would have given it to Liz over Kenzie because I feel like Kenzie probably would have understood. She's one of the people on the beach that would actually understand that kind of logic.
Mm-hmm.
But like, man, a freak out and then a bounce back. Like, we've seen freakouts on Survivor, and these people go home or they just absolutely lose it, and they lose it like for good. Liz like was really frustrated, but she like bounced back after like crying a couple times, and she kept it together enough to like talk with the group and then complained about it after. And then she actually made another move. Like, made another big move where she was the swing vote to not follow her heart and everything that was in her that said Q is the reason for all of my problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was kind of surprising to me because when we see a meltdown on Survivor, we typically see, like, a meltdown, like Debbie, you know? Like, Debbie's never coming back. Debbie had that, she was done, right? Like, Liz is screaming and telling everybody her emotions and her strategy and how another player ruined her game, just screaming it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very impressed with her ability to bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, I was really, when they were talking about getting the numbers to vote Tiffany out without Kenzie tonight, I was like, I'm trying to do the math on my hands, and I was like, I don't know how they're going to pull this off. I was like, because Liz wants to vote Q out. Venus wants to vote Q out.
Right.
Kenzie is kind of off of the vote Tiffany thing out. And they landed on asking Liz to vote with them. And I thought Maria played it well. Like, the fact that she kind of said, like, you hold the cards for this vote. Not like, hey, you should vote with us because blah, blah, blah. Like, she was like, this is your move. This is an opportunity for you to have a move. And, like, I think, you know, we all know that this was Maria's move, or that's at least what the edit showed us, that it was Maria's move. But she made Liz feel like it was Liz's move.
Right.
And it's like, you can have a move, which Liz probably feels like she needs more than ever after soiling her pants at the challenge in front of everybody. And so I think it was a good decision by Maria and Charlie to ask Liz instead of Venus, because I think if you go to Venus isn't just gonna like do what someone else said.
No,
like she's gonna take that back to the other side and try to like flip something else around.
She could just walk up to Tiff and be like, "Hey, play your idol."
Right.
Like, you know, and that's honestly, I thought that was gonna happen with Liz.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like Maria got greedy. I thought they could have voted Tiff, but it could have just been a 4-4 split, you know? And like Kenzie's thing was like, and she said like, I'm kind of off on Tiff because of, you know, the idol and like other things right now. And I guess that's what Maria was thinking, but I was thinking just go with 4-4, revote, say I'm not moving. Kenzie's going to flip because Kenzie wanted Tiff gone anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe Kenzie would think, well, I just lost that move. That was going to be like my main move for this game. But at the same time, like, I didn't even really think bringing in Liz was necessary.
I mean, from a certainty perspective, like it takes all the risk out of it. Like if it actually goes 5-3,
like if Q plays his shot in the dark or something.
Yeah. Like what if Q plays a shot in the dark, which I thought he might do at one point. I was like, man, if they get them there and then he plays his shot in the dark because he starts to believe all the stuff they're saying, then it's over. So like, good job by Q to like go and hear all of that stuff at Tribal about how he's the one, which I'm sure they said they were all going to do beforehand. But yeah, it's funny because there was like 4 or 5 people at Tribal who were like lying, saying like it's Q, like there's no question. And the other 3 people were saying that, but they were saying it earnestly.
Right.
And like that's a red flag. If you've only heard one name at the final 8 of Survivor, that's a red flag.
Yeah. I don't care who it is.
Like I thought similarly with like Hunter going home last week, like there was too many red flags not to play your idol. And so I thought for Tiffany tonight, there was too many red flags not to play your idol. Like it's just not going to be that easy. There's too much ego at play for everyone to want to do an easy vote because they are mad at someone. Like,
yeah.
You know there's going to be at least 3 people of the 8 who are like, if they're mad, at that person, that's the person I want to go to the end with. So
correct.
I just thought, just not great play by Hunter last week going home with his idol, and not great play by Tiffany tonight. The fact that Tiffany, literally, she meant it, she didn't hear another name at all, not even proposed.
Yeah.
Not like someone said this, but no one even, she wasn't like, well, my name got thrown out there, but it's not coming. And then watching her face as they were reading the vote, Tiffany gets 2 votes for her and she still looks fine. It was the 3rd vote that threw her off, and she was like, wait, what? It's once it was more than 1, you should have been concerned if you didn't hear any other names.
Yeah.
That should have sunk in quick. So
yeah.
Not great by Tiffany tonight. I would love to see people play start playing their idols too soon, as opposed to not playing them.
I feel like we had a little bit of that in some merges in recent seasons where it's I don't know what's going on, so I'm just gonna play my idol. Some people would I think to me I kind of get more frustrated with that, because I feel like if you need an idol that early, you're not gonna win anyway, right?
I don't know.
I think
sometimes the game passes by and that moment passes where you were going to be the vote, and then you just kind of are there later.
I like the idea of holding on to the vote. She literally did it last week and it was perfect.
Right.
But she got greedy. That's the thing. You literally just did this with Hunter, where you were like, hey, let's all vote Q. I'm tired of Q. Whatever. Let's vote out Hunter, who has an idol. You didn't think the same conversation was going to be had about you?
Well, I mean, she said last week, I'm going to hold on to my idol and not play it for one more vote. That's the decision that she made. Mm-hmm. And then tonight, after she gets voted out, she said, I thought I could hold on to it for one more vote. That, you always are going to try to stretch it one more vote, and that's when people get voted out with their idol.
Right.
Because guess what? People are smart. Because Banu's not in the game anymore. The guy who's going to ruin that is not in the game. You're not going to get tipped off. So, and if everyone knows you have an idol, you're definitely not finding out that you're the vote. So, if there's any red flags, you should play that sucker.
Especially when you have a GOAT, right? If they were hey, let's make a big move and vote out, Liz, or let's vote out, Maria, then I would be more tempted to keep it. But if it's just the same person that we've been talking about voting for three votes now, come on. Those spidey senses have got to be going off, come on. So that was really weird. And I understand Hunter's holding on to it more, and I guess I understand Tiff's because it worked for her last time, but it's just seeing 2 idols go home in back-to-back episodes is crazy. And honestly, I feel like it's a missed opportunity for us to see some good strategy, gameplay, drama at Tribal, And it does provide some of well, are they going to play it? Are they going to play it? But it's just kind of I wish that I would see a successful idol play again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, if you play your idol and you don't get voted out, the votes aren't on you, that's not a bad move. You didn't make a bad move by playing your idol.
If anything, you look dumber, so the target's off your back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a bad move. When we're talking about resumes, if you play your idol, but the votes weren't on you, that's not a knock against you, in my opinion. But what we do know is a knock from the jury is if you pull a Xander from 41 and you always have an idol but never play it, it looks like you weren't even playing the game. You were just relying on the threat of you playing an idol to get you through every vote, but you didn't even use it for any of your allies, or you never really used it for a move. So it's a bad move to have it and never play it. In my mind, it's not a bad. It's just it's a whatever to play it and the vote's not be on you. Obviously, best case scenario, you play it and the votes are on you. And the second best scenario is you play it and the votes weren't on you, but you played it correctly for someone else and one of your allies. And so But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no risk in playing it. Like, Tiff could win some immunity challenges down the stretch, too. Like, so I think, especially in a blindside situation, like, if she played it tonight and saved herself and Q went home, I don't think it's, like, automatic that everybody wants Tiffany out next time. That doesn't seem like everybody would just be like, you know what, well, now that the idol's gone, we need to vote Tiffany. Like, it would raise her threat level, sure. But, like, with this group of people, they're not going to do the obvious thing. Like, they're going to spin it around and spin it around and spin it around until it lands on somebody else.
That's the thing. Like, the obvious thing, as long as Q is on the island, is going to be to get Q out. And they're not going to do that.
Well,
like,
that doesn't even seem like that doesn't even seem obvious to me. Like, why is that obvious? Like I think everyone can, at this point in the game, is going to be like, kind of going to need to accept that Q is going to be there, or like use the logic of like, we need to vote Q out because he's going to take one of our spots at the end because he's going to be in the GOAT spot and some people are going to want to take him, so we should get him out.
Yeah,
like if I'm 4, 5, 6, and 7 right now, that's what I need to be saying is like, let's get Q out because they're going to take our spot at the final 3.
That's a very like fear-based mentality to play a game where there's one winner of $1 million. You know, like it's not like third place is getting a substantial amount of money. You don't play Survivor to go in third place to be like, or second place. You know, like it's just kind of, I think it makes sense to work with Q at this point. How you do that, I don't know, man. I don't know. But they used his vote tonight, and it worked fine.
I think as long as Q knows that he's not driving, he's a loyal number. And I think that might be kind of where we saw him settle tonight. And, like, he was willing to say in Tribal that it was all his idea, that I threw a plan out there and see if anybody will jump on it. But, like, that was just, like, reinforcing the lie to Tiffany, really. Right. Because if he had said people had approached me today about voting someone else out, then Tiffany's alarm bells would have started to go off. But the fact that he said, I just threw it out there to see what would happen, Tiffany's like, even if he said my name, which he probably did, like, no one's voting with him.
Right. And like, she had thrown out, like, Q had thrown out the idea of voting with Tiff as well. So it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I was there for that conversation. Mm-hmm. And no, I'm not going to vote for that.
Right.
Yeah. So another idol goes home, and you say like 4, 5, 6, and 7, man. There's like, in my mind, there's the Sega 3, which have lasted, like, you know, Tim got voted out a while ago, right? Like, Tim didn't even make the jury. And not one of them has been voted out since. Not one of them has been, like, really brought up. Like, Ben has been brought up, like, as a third or fourth option, but Charlie and Maria have never been mentioned at all, which is, like, insane to me, especially when Charlie is out there. This is what, his third immunity win, or at least second, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just so confused, and I'm sure that's because the edit is feeding us a lot of Charlie, including, this made no sense to me. Maybe you can clarify this for me. In the challenge reward before it, Jeff was like, you guys look really thin out there. Does it feel that way? And then Charlie said, yes, I feel like I'm going to pass out sometimes. That was the whole conversation. Yeah. They just moved on. They're like, all right, let's explain the challenge. What? I was like really confused because I was like, that's such a weird one-off. It gave us no new information.
Yeah.
It was just setting up the Applebee's thing, but they took like a mini break before they brought in the Applebee's.
Yeah, I feel like if we were doing 1 hour episodes, that exchange would have got cut. Like,
yeah.
And unless Charlie passes out later in the season and it was foreshadowing,
could be.
Then that would be great editing. But yeah, I was like, did they just show Charlie here just to get Charlie in there? Because this episode was really about Maria.
Yeah.
Like they showed everything tonight from Maria's perspective. They've shown a lot of stuff from Charlie's perspective already this season, but tonight it was all Maria. Like Maria's making the plan, doing this, that, whatever. What I think is going to happen next episode is that Charlie is going to vote Maria out. I think that they have now established Maria as like a threat to win. So it is now only like now when Charlie says next episode, Maria is going to win if she gets to the end, we'll believe him, and we won't be like, what do you mean? Like, you're a bigger threat. And I think Maria's probably going home next episode. Because, like, tonight, it seemed much more like it was Charlie and Maria making those moves. Like Maria, they showed Maria, like, pulling Q in, but, like, Charlie was in all those conversations with Maria, like, when they were brainstorming, like, should we try to go with Tiff anyways?
Yes.
So I think this was hey, like you've gotten a lot of Charlie's winner edit. Boom, here's Maria's winner edit. And like the person who took the biggest stock hit tonight, besides Tiffany getting voted out, in my opinion, was Kenzie.
Yeah.
Getting left out of a 5-3 vote is a tough scene. And so I don't know. Like, she had a great episode last episode. Like,
yeah,
it was clear that it was a vote split. Like, in this episode, they made it clear, like, it was a vote split. It wasn't half the people voting for Hunter, half the people voting for Q. It was a vote split. And so the way that she manipulated Hunter last episode was magical. And the way that she lied to him over and over and over again. And so I thought it was a big sign for Kenzie last week, the edit that she got. But then she got knocked back down this week. So like I think if a Yanu wins, I still think it's probably her. But
yeah,
it looks like the ball is in Maria and Charlie's court.
This was the move that Kenzie needed to make, and she knew it. And she's the first person that brought it up to really anybody. Like, Maria told Charlie, I don't trust Tiff. I want to get her out. But Kenzie was the first person that was like, let's do it now. Mm-hmm. And then she wasn't able to because she got scared. And then someone else just took that move from her.
Yeah.
So it's like, if we're looking at Kenzie's resume, it has 3 pre-merge tribal, challenge losses. She's voted on the majority, I think, every single time except for this one. But she can't really claim any of those moves, right? Like, maybe she could say she's built like a social game because she did move the vote off Ben one time. But those are small things, and she's got to build. We have 3 more like votes left. And the way these people are worrying about big moves, it's like it could be just whoever made the last move, that's who we're voting out because that's going to be my move. Yeah. And personally, I don't like that gameplay of Survivor. I think that's kind of lame. But I guess that's what they're thinking of when they're out there and thinking, oh, this person made a move, I got to get them out because they're strong.
Well, you've got to self-assess and rank everyone based on who you think the jury's going to vote for, and you've got to knock out everybody that's above yourself. Like, that's the game. So if I'm Kenzie, I'm like, who can I beat that's still here? I can beat Q. I can beat Venus. I can beat Ben. And I can probably beat Liz, but it's close. Okay? So in my opinion, if Kenzie goes with at least Q or Venus or Ben, she wins. Ben is a nice guy, but he has not made any moves.
Right.
He hasn't initiated a single thing in the game. And Ben is close with Kenzie. So Ben will not want to vote Kenzie out if they're like, that is a tiebreaker in his mind. So I can totally see, let's say Charlie gets Maria out next episode. Charlie wins immunity. But we go into Final 5 and Charlie's like the clear person, like, we've got to get this guy out. So if he loses immunity at 5 or at 4, like, he's got to be the person that goes home. And so, in my opinion, like, there's a lot of gain left that Kenzie can still win this game. But I think Charlie and Maria are like the two favorites. And I think I'd put Liz on that same tier as Kenzie. If Liz is able to get to the end against Q and Venus, she wins.
Yeah. I think you're undervaluing Venus. Like, yes, I think the people that are already on the jury don't like Venus. I think that everyone that's still out there thinks of Venus as like a real person that they can't trust. Like, as a person that like will cut you. You know, like that's
right. Like, but she is not cutting anyone. She's not good at Survivor.
But I would argue, like, the last two votes, the Hunter vote she was in on, right? And then the Tevin vote she was in on. Like, she claimed it herself as her own, or the Soda vote she claimed as her own. Mean, like, she's been in on these votes, and no one's talking about it, but no one can work with her. So, like, I feel like either they're going to vote her out or she's going to make the final three and get at least one jury vote.
So, this is what I'm seeing so far. Soda, when she got voted out, I think she thought that Venus is the one that did it to her. Tevin shows up at Ponderosa and says, "Girl, she did not come up with that plan. That was all me." And so now Tevin has persuaded Soda that Venus just claimed that and he let her. Okay. So that's two jury votes I don't think Venus is getting. Hunter is not voting for Venus.
Yeah, Hunter hates her.
He does not. Absolutely not. Okay. So Tiffany, Venus was not able to. Did not vote for Tiffany.
Right.
So
she worked with her.
So Tiffany's like route to vote for Venus at the finals is like bitter juror. I'm mad at the people that voted me out or whatever, so I'm going to vote for Venus because they did show Venus was hanging out in this episode with Kenzie and Tiffany.
Correct.
Those were the people that we saw Venus sitting around.
And Liz.
And like, Liz a little bit.
I think if Liz gets on the jury, I think Venus could probably get her vote. Like, I think if Maria gets on the jury and Charlie's not there, I think Venus could get her vote. Like, I think Venus, if she gets to the end, will get a vote. That's the thing. I think any of these players can win. I would say Ben is probably the least likely outside of Q to win. So, like, if I'm doing my rankings, it would be like Charlie and then just Maria. A mess of people. Like Maria and then Liz, Kenzie, Venus, Ben, Q.
See, I don't see it that way at all. I think Venus is bottom tier to me with Q, and then Ben is somewhere between them and Kenzie and Liz, and then there's Charlie and Maria in the catbird seat right now.
Which is, I mean, hey, do you remember when we picked? I picked Maria, and you picked Charlie. So, like, they're kind of running the game.
Here we are.
So, good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, I'm really enjoying this season of Survivor. I think I told you last 2 weeks ago when we did the podcast, maybe after we got off, but I was like, this is maybe my favorite season of the new era, and I still stand by that. I have been very engaged this season, and I love the cast. The cast is really fun to watch. I did get really upset with Banu, and I'm glad that was over after 3 episodes. But other than that, like, this merge, I think has been fantastic.
Yeah, it's been good, and it's because of Q. Like,
yes.
Like, Q is, like, has stirred the pot so much and taken people out of kind of, like, the boringer gameplay. They did a great job with casting this season. Like, I know people are like, why did Banu get on the show? But when you take more risks, like putting a Banu out there, putting a Q out there, you put more people out there who think differently than others, but do it loudly or whatever. Like, that makes for a better, much of the gameplay in the new era has been so cagey and players haven't been willing to take risks because they're concerned about idle nullifiers and shots in the dark and all this stuff. They're concerned about, like, players in the new have been concerned about things that have, like, never happened before. It's like, okay, that, like, you need to play Survivor. You need to do the thing. So I am happy in some sense of, like, there were idols this season, but no one played one successfully. So, like, it didn't really come into play. Like, it's a lot of more straightforward strategy. And I think the idol plays into it because people, like, there's more blind sides. With the idols and shots in the dark, that literally just means there's more blind sides. So I've enjoyed it. I don't know that it's been my favorite season in the new era. Like, I know this is such a take that people don't like, but I loved season 41. Like, I loved Ricard and Shan and their storyline. I really enjoyed that. This is another take that a bunch of people probably would disagree with, is that I loved season 43 with Jesse and Cody and Gabler and Owen and Cassidy.
I think a lot of people love that season. I think they're disappointed with the winners from those seasons, right? Like, I think if Shan wins that season, it's a whole different conversation. I think if Jesse wins season 43, it's a whole other conversation. But Gabler won, so people aren't thrilled with it. But Jesse, Cody, Carla, that dynamic was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't... To me, like, whoever wins, like, that's just one episode of the season. Like,
right.
Okay, the How I Met Your Mother finale sucked, but, like, it was a great show for 9 seasons. So it was a great show for 6 seasons.
Yeah.
The last few seasons were great. But, like, I love the rest of it so much. It's like, whatever how they did at the end, the way they didn't wrap up the story like I wanted. Like, it's a TV show. Mm-hmm. And, like, you know, it is what it is. Yeah. But I've enjoyed the season as well.
Yeah. Anything else on Survivor?
I don't think so. Still liking my guy Charlie.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2 options, I guess. We could talk about the Titans NFL draft, or we could talk about the NBA playoffs.
Let's go Titans NFL draft. Playoffs will still be going on next week.
Titans NFL draft. You take J.C. Latham in the first round, T'Vondre Sweat in the second round. Couple big boys. One of them has a DWI, you know. And then we have some, like, probably special teamers in the back end of the draft and maybe a starting linebacker, you know. I feel okay about it. I'm just kind of, like, waiting for them to actually get on the field, if they get on the field, you know, and just see what happens. Do you have any, like, guttural reactions to any of those picks?
I like them. I thought it was a good draft. If we have 3 starters, like they're like Carthon and Callahan are saying, we've got 3 starters. Like that Latham, Sweat, and Cedric Gray are all going to be starters. If that's the case, this is a great draft. My biggest issue with, like, J-Rob and all his drafts was, like, we draft players that weren't positions of need, that weren't going to play, like, right away. It's like, why are we spending a 3rd-round pick on Darrington Evans? Why? Like, why are we doing that? Like, that's not even, like, noted as one of his worst picks, even though it was terrible. But it's like we spent a 3rd-round pick on Darrington Evans. Like, we drafted, like the Malik Willis thing was, like, a little bit more understandable because it's like, Tannehill's kind of coming to the end.
I like that pick still. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. I think we all got too excited because he was, like, projected as, like, the first or third best quarterback in the draft. But, like, it was, like, the worst quarterback draft in, like, 20 years. Right. So, you know, whatever. Great draft. Carthon has done a great job this offseason. Like, I'm really excited. And it hurts me to, like, turn on Stillman's show on 102.5 The Game in Nashville in the afternoons and, like, hear him talk about how Carthon hasn't done anything good. Or I'm like, this dude is cooking, man. Like, we're going to win 10 games this year.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, I mean, come on. That's a bit rich. I was just going to say, Rand, come on the pod. We'd love to have you, man. But I think 10 games is a bit rich. What I'm shocked at is Like, and I know there's a new stadium, and I know they need to put butts in the seats and all that stuff. The Titans have never spent money like this. Let's just be real. Like we're going out and getting the best center in free agency. We're getting one of the best wide receivers in free agency. We're getting one of the best paying one of the best running backs that was in free agency. When has that ever happened? Like, when have the Titans just said, I know we had a lot of salary cap. We have more salary cap than everybody in the league, but I remember Bud Adams. I remember just trying to be like a mediocre team that would make the playoffs sometimes. This is a whole new thing, and I appreciate the money that is being put into this roster.
I mean, a couple things with that. I think, like, everyone's been kind of, like, aggrieved at, like, how much we've paid for some of these guys, especially Calvin Ridley. But, like, the fact of the matter is, like, we don't have guys whose rookies' contracts are expiring that we want to pay because we drafted terribly for 4 years straight, except for, like, maybe this last year's rookie class will end up okay. So we don't have, like, a receiver we're trying to pay. Like, we traded A.J. Brown away when he got too expensive. Like, we don't have a bunch of guys. Jeffrey Simmons was the guy that we had to re-sign, and we re-signed him at a big number, and we've moved on. So, like, we don't have – there's nobody, like, coming down the pipe like, oh, we got to pay this guy next year. Like, there's no one to pay for the next 2 years. We might – like, a 2-year contract, it's like, why not? Let's just give out as much to – and, like, this year we've said we have paid the we suck tax. Like, we have overpaid for guys because we suck. And if we were paying the same as everybody else, they wouldn't have come to the Titans. If you're going to get the pay the same as everybody else, you go to a place that's, you know, a city you want to live in. You go to a place that's contending for championships. The only thing we've got on our side is money. There's no state income tax, and we have more money to give you than everyone else. So, come on. And I think that it worked this offseason. And so, like, maybe, you know, one of the guys we signed doesn't work out. Maybe Awuzie sucks. Maybe Calvin Ridley sucks. Maybe Cushenberry sucks. But if two of those guys are good and then our draft class hits, like, we're going to be okay. And, you know, everyone talks about how our offensive line coach is, you know, the second coming of Christ when it comes to teaching guys how to pass block and all that stuff. So, you know,
we're hoping he can resurrect our offensive line, you know?
I am putting way less stock into him than it seems like everyone else is. Every time I turn on the radio or listen to a podcast, it's all Bill Callahan this, Bill Callahan that. I'm like, the dude is 70-something years old, and we're hoping that he transforms our offensive line. Okay.
And people talk about him more than they talk about, like, his son, who's, like, the head coach.
Literally.
It's kind of crazy.
Do. Yeah.
But... yeah, we'll see. I was in conversation with our friend Reese during the draft, and after Sweat got taken, you know, like, I like Sweat. Sweat's game was, like, amazing. If you watch his tape, it's, like, nuts. Like, the dude is huge and powerful and, like, pretty shifty. But I just get nervous of taking a guy pretty early and then, like, maybe them not playing because of recent events that happened in John Robinson's era, right? So, like, I'm hopeful, but also I understand that Jeffrey Simmons, that was a huge thing when he came in, and we were worried about that. And look at that. So I hope it works out. I'm going to root for all these guys. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Sweat is he was ranked by Daniel Jeremiah at 41 before the DUI, and then he got bounced down to 114. Well, there's still a bunch of teams that were going to draft him before 114.
Right.
So it's like people are saying we overdrafted. It's like he wasn't going to be there at our next pick, and like you couldn't know when to trade up because it was such an unsure like review on him after that incident. So we'll see. I hope it works out. I hope J.C. Latham gets him on the right track.
Yeah. Well, that's been it. I'm Joel, that's Michael. We're the Clingers, and we just talked about episode 10 of season 46 of Survivor. We will see you next week when they get down to Final 7. Bye, guys.
See ya.